Half-Life Alyx represents a major shift for Valve as a whole. The engine that released with it has not yet been seen by the public. Sure, we've seen titles ship with Source 2, such as Artifact and Underlords, however, those are running on a completely different branch of the engine. Half-Life Alyx is the first time people like me have been able to see Valve's single-player content branch of Source 2. The potential of data mining, cut content, and interesting finds within the files and strings are very high. And of course, we found a lot. The problem is, Valve has not released any official documentation or tool sets for the engine whatsoever. We are promised a map editor for Half-Life Alyx some point in the future, and in fact, we have gotten confirmation that it is the team's current priority to ship it as soon as possible. However, we've also heard that if Valve ships the mapping tools, they will likely be cutting out a lot of this cut content, so the community had to take it into their own hands. Bootleg tools have been created by juggling SteamVR Home, Dota 2, and Half-Life Alyx in a very delicate way that allows for basic custom content scripting. The community has also found out a way to enable vscript, essentially allowing the community to run custom code on top of the already compiled game engine. And because of all of this work, we're able to re-enable features that were cut from two-dimensional games, such as Left 4 Dead 3 or Half-Life 3, and today we are going to be focusing on the Tripmine. Some of you are probably wondering, how is this cut? Tripmines are in the game, they're found all over the place in the layer half, and Alyx is supposed to hack them. Well, as it turns out, there are two types of Tripmines found within the game's files. The version that you see is actually a separate entity called a hackable combine wall Tripmine. They are non-interactive. Once they're on a wall, they're there. In fact, a person can't actually spawn them with the console. They need to be placed specifically on a wall in order to spawn properly. If they don't have a surface to attach to, they won't do anything. There is a separate entity called VR Weapon HLVR Tripmine, which is an entirely usable item. You can pick it up. You can throw it around. You can look on the back of it, and a specific shader is implemented to blind the player. And how they work is very simple. You drop them on a surface, they lock down on that surface, very similar to a Combine Hopper from Half-Life 2. A laser pops out, and if you cross that laser, they explode. The functionality does go a bit further. If you somehow throw them against a vertical wall and they stick, they will immediately activate. They have their own sounds that go unused in the final game. It's obvious that these Tripmines were meant to be wrist-pocketed. However, there seems to be a flag within the engine that allows items to be added into your inventory or not. So, for example, you can add bottles into your wrist bags only during the Jeff chapter, but they're the exact same entity. So there must be something in the tools that we personally are missing in the community that does not allow us to add these Tripmines full functionality, and this is where the community comes in. There is just a significant amount of cut content in Half-Life Alyx, and I have been spending every waking moment of my life since Half-Life Alyx is released to figure out the best way to present these things. So, for example, it's actually possible to play around with the Tripmines yourself. I have uploaded the map that I personally used in this video. Just add it into your build, open up the console, type the map in, and you can play around with Tripmines. Tripmines themselves can actually set off other mines in a proximity. However, usable carryable Tripmines were cut from the game. We do not have an idea at what stage in development they were cut. However, we do know that they were cut because of how they work. Half-Life Alyx has been designed around very small spaces, and if the developers do not have the freedom to place these Tripmines in the spots that work best, the players will end up hurting themselves accidentally a lot. Especially based on the implementation of these Tripmines, they are very touchy. Even if you brush them across the surface, they will attach. That's likely because they weren't playtested and polished past the point that they were cut, just like many other cut items. However, being able to pick up an entirely unused weapon of the game and see it work right out of the box is actually quite representative of how a lot of the cut content from Half-Life Alyx is. The cut content of Half-Life Alyx is an ongoing series that you will see here. If you want to see all of my findings pushed out in a well-explained manner and ways that you can play around with all of these different things, subscribe to the channel because I have just oh so much in store. Because here's a secret, it doesn't seem that Valve cleaned the build very far at all. The initial build had a bunch of source filmmaker shots from a very early version of Half-Life 3 left in them. There's actually a significant amount of Half-Life 3 leftovers. years, we have more unused content, references, code, assets, than content that is actually used within the game. So buckle in, this may take a while. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Valve News Network. Have a good day. Wait, no, that's next episode.